What India lost in 1947, the untold story of partition. Imagine waking up one morning and learning that the land your ancestors lived on for thousands of years is no longer yours. Imagine realizing that the places where your grandparents prayed, studied, loved, worked, and raised families have suddenly become foreign territory. That the soil which carried your culture, your gods, your identity, has been cut away from you forever. Separated from you forever, not by distance, but by a line drawn on a map. Partition is not just a story of borders, it is a story of loss, a loss so deep that even after 77 years, it still hurts. India in 1947 did not just lose land, India lost history. India lost culture. India lost temples, cities, rivers, memories, and millions of its own people. India lost a part of its soul. Before partition, undivided India stretched from the mountains of Kabul to the sacred Ganges, from the deserts of Balochistan to the lush green fields of Bengal. But within months, one of the world's oldest civilizations was carved apart, and India lost nearly 25% of its territory. A quarter of the motherland gone. And that land was not empty. It carried the oldest roots of Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, and Sindhi civilization. It carried centuries of learning, prayer, philosophy, art, and identity. Lahore, once called the cultural heart of India, the birthplace of Guru Nanak, a city of poets like Faiz and Allama Iqbal, a city where Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and Sukhdev gave their blood for freedom, a city where literature bloomed and revolutions were born. Today, it lies outside India. Karachi, a thriving economic powerhouse where Sindhi merchants and Gujarati traders built empires, where India met the Arabian Sea with pride. Gone. Peshawar, the ancient gateway of the Silk Road, a city of warriors and traders, history and legend, gone. Quetta, the fruit basket of India, gone. Multan, the city of saints where Hindu temples stood for centuries, gone. Rawalpindi, the former headquarters of the Indian Army, gone. Sylhet, the land of tea gardens and ancient Hindu settlements, most of it gone. And it didn't end with cities. India lost some of the oldest spiritual sites in the subcontinent. Taxila, one of the world's first universities, a 2,700-year-old center of philosophy, astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and art, where Chanakya taught, where knowledge shaped civilizations. Now, Indians can only see it through pictures. Hinglaj Mata Temple, one of the 51 Shakti Pithas, once a thriving pilgrimage route, now cut off from most devotees. Kadas Raj temples, believed to be built by the Pandavas, sacred ponds, sacred legends, now out of reach. Sharada Peeth, the ancient seat of Saraswati, one of the holiest sites for Kashmiri Pandits, now behind a border, the birthplace of Guru Nanak in Nankana Sahib, the Samadhi of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, Panja Sahib, one of Sikhism's holiest shrines, all of them, now on the other side. Imagine not being able to visit the land where your guru was born. Imagine needing a visa to pray at your holiest temple. Imagine being separated from your God by a line drawn on a map. That is what partition did. India also lost its rivers. The mighty Indus River, the river that gave India its name, the river that nourished the Indus Valley civilization, the river of our Vedas, our epics, our stories. Most of it now flows beyond India's reach. The river that named us no longer belongs to us. But the greatest loss of all was the people. More than 15 million Indians were uprooted, forced to run, leaving behind everything they owned, their homes, their farms, their temples, their memories. People walked for days with nothing but a pot, a torn bag, and their gods in their hands. Trains arrived not with passengers, but with corpses. Cities burned, villages vanished, families were torn apart forever. Brothers lost brothers, mothers lost sons, daughters disappeared forever. Between 200,000 and 2 million people died, and nearly 100,000 women were abducted, assaulted, or enslaved. Their stories were buried in silence, silence that still lives in our homes. In 1947, West Punjab was nearly 40% Hindu and Sikh. Today, less than 2% remain. Entire cultures vanished in a few years. Languages disappeared, festivals died, temples crumbled, civilizations that existed for centuries collapsed almost overnight. We didn't only lose land, we lost economic power. Karachi was our business hub. Lahore was our cultural heart. Cotton fields, wheat farms, fruit orchards, divided, trade routes, broken. We lost education. Universities, libraries, archives lost across borders. We lost military strength. Regiments were split. Brothers in uniform became strangers overnight. We lost languages. The Punjabi of Lahore, the Sindhi of Karachi, now survive only in fragments. We lost music and art. Classical gharanas of Lahore, folk songs of Sindh and Multan, now fading echoes, and perhaps the deepest loss of all. We lost innocence. A generation grew up knowing fear instead of harmony, suspicion instead of trust, trauma instead of peace. Our grandparents never healed. They carried rusted keys of homes that no longer exist. They preserved faded photographs of cities they would never see again. They kept wounds buried so deep that even today they tremble to speak of them. Partition did not just divide land, it divided hearts, it divided families, it divided history. And it left behind a wound that India still carries, a wound that continues to bleed through generations. Imagine if Lahore were still a part of India, a thriving cultural capital. Imagine if Taxila were still accessible. Every Indian student walking through the birthplace of knowledge. Imagine if the Indus still flowed through Indian soil. Imagine if Sindhi Hindus still lived in Karachi. Imagine if Kashmiri Pandits could pray freely at Sharada Peeth. Imagine if millions of Hindus and Sikhs had not been forced to abandon centuries of heritage. We do not mourn the land alone. We mourn the stories that were never told, the homes never rebuilt, the festivals never celebrated again, the temples lost to time, the families that never reunited. Partition took more from India than the world will ever understand. Borders can be changed, but heritage, culture, faith, civilization, once torn, can never fully heal. This is not a story of politics. It is a story of people, our ancestors, our pain. And it is a reminder that the wound of partition is still alive, in every Indian heart that remembers what was lost.